Hello and welcome to a video review of Newton's laws of motion. In this video we're going to review the three laws that you guys have been learning about in class. Starting us off, as you guys know, Isaac Newton pretty much came up with the idea to study how things move and how things work. In his lifetime, he invented these three laws of motion in the late 1600s, early 1700s. The thing that is really neat is these laws are invented hundreds of years ago, are still proven true in today's 21st century world of technology. So again, it's kind of neat in science when these laws have been around for hundreds of years and nobody can prove these laws wrong. As you guys know, starting us off, the story goes Isaac Newton pretty much was sitting underneath a apple tree one day and was conked on the head with an apple, which got him thinking, how does gravity work? How does motion work? How does inertia work? And he spent the later part of his life looking at things, studying them, and he came up with these three laws of motion. The first law, and again, this is in 21st century terminology, basically says an object will stay in motion unless acted upon an object will stay in motion unless a force acts upon it, and also an object at rest will remain at rest unless a force acts upon it. So this basically says an object will not move. It will stay stationary unless a force, which you guys know by now, a force is nothing more than a push or pull. You cannot get anything on Earth to move unless you push it or pull it. And the law says the object will stay in motion forever until a force acts upon it. And some of the forces that we've learned about, the two main ones, is going to be air resistance and friction. So think about outer space. There's no air and there's no gravity, so you have no friction. So if you were to launch a tennis ball in space, it's going to go on forever. It will not stop. And that's kind of what Newton's first law says. An object in motion will stay in motion until something stops it. So I found this cool picture right here of Newton's first law, and it makes sense. An object in motion, hence the motorcycle and the driver, will stay in motion until some force stops it. So as you guys see here, the motorcycle was stopped by the stack of tires, but the driver still is going to stay in motion until he hits the ground, and then friction takes over and brings him to a stop. So that's basically Newton's first law. An object in motion is going to keep moving. Newton's second law, the famous three letters. F equals m times a. Basically it means force, the amount of force you need, which is pushing or pulling, is equal to how heavy it is, the mass, and how fast you want it to move, the acceleration. So pretty much in simple terminology is if something's heavy, it's going to take more force to get it to accelerate faster. If it's light, it's not going to take a lot of force. So looking at this picture here, prime example, here you have like a 4,000 pound car and you have people behind it pushing it through an intersection. As you know that if there's more people behind that car, you're going to be able to push it faster because you are applying more force. And if you look here, these gentlemen are pushing it. Again, a force is nothing more than a push or a pull. Okay, so Newton's second law basically says F equals m times a, which means a heavy object is going to need more force to accelerate it. Newton's third and final law basically says for every action there is an equal but an opposite reaction. So you got the gentleman sitting down here, so that's the action. The reaction is these kids are going to start flying. Looking at this picture here, I know there's some skateboarders in the group. here you actually have a kid falling off a skateboard. So Newton's third law says pretty much every action has an opposite reaction. So here you have the skateboarder pushing to the right. Well, which direction is the kid falling? He's falling towards the left. Okay, so let's quickly look at an airplane here. Okay. Okay, looking at a jet here. Good. Another prime examples of Newton's three laws of motion. Here you have the jet applying the force this way. So those engines right here are pushing air this way. Well, that's the action that's pushing the air this way. So the reaction is the jet's going to start flying this way. Okay, prime example of Newton's three laws of motion. Action, pushing it this way, reaction, going this way. Okay, so kind of like in summary, I want you guys to understand that there are three laws of motion. Newton's first law, objects at rest stay at rest. Objects in motion stay in motion unless acted on by a force. Newton's second law, force equals mass times acceleration, which basically means the weight of the object determines how much force you need to give it. And the final one, for a reaction, there's an equal and opposite reaction. Again, if you have any questions about Newton's three laws of motions, if you need more examples or you're just not understanding it, just tell me in class. We can definitely find some more examples to kind of help explain these better. Thank you.